I get it when you need a laptop that can handle heavy 3D modeling, multi-track video editing, or the occasional game. The impulse is to grab the cheapest gaming notebook you can find on sale. The problem is, those budget machines often skimp on the things that actually matter: a reliable display, enough memory to keep dozens of apps open, and a GPU that doesn't throttle the moment you push a render. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The question I keep hearing from people on forums is whether stepping up to a ThinkPad branded workstation feels like a smarter investment or just another pricey badge. Let's unpack that by looking at the Lenovo ThinkPad P16v Gen 2 in the kind of real-world scenarios you'd actually throw it at. First off, the screen is where the P16v starts to separate itself from the cheap alternative crowd. A 6-inch WUXGA panel, 38402400, with 100% DCI-P3 coverage and HDR400 means you're seeing roughly the same color volume you'd expect from a professional monitor, not a washed-out laptop screen. For a freelance motion graphics artist, that translates to being able to grade footage on Thigo without constantly second-guessing whether the colors will shift once you upload the final video. The anti-glare coating also helps when you're working in a bright co-working space, and the 15.6-inch size stays comfortably portable enough to slip into a standard backpack. Memory and storage are where the headline specs start to feel more like a safety net than a brag. The machine ships with 32 GB of DDR5 RAM, which, in practice, means you can have Adobe After Effects, Photoshop, a full Unreal Engine editor, and a handful of browser tabs open simultaneously without watching the system crawl. I tested a typical workflow where I imported a 4K video clip, layered a motion graphics composition, and ran a background render while still being able to browse reference material. The RAM never hit the 90% mark, and the system remained responsive. The 1TB NVMe SSD gives you a fast boot and load times, but the real win is the space to store large project files without constantly shuffling external drives. If you're the type who archives raw footage on external media anyway, you'll find the internal capacity generous but not excessive. Now let's talk graphics. The RTX 1080 generation card with 6 GB of VRAM isn't a flagship GPU, but it's a solid middle ground. For CAD work or architectural visualization, it handles complex models at decent frame rates, and you'll notice smoother viewport navigation compared to integrated graphics. When it comes to gaming, you can comfortably play modern titles at 1080p with medium to high settings, which is more than enough for a workstation that's primarily built for creation. The downside is that you won't be pushing 4K gaming at ultra settings. The GPU will start to throttle under sustained load, and you might see a dip in performance after an hour of intensive rendering. If you need top-tier ray tracing for gaming, you'll have to look elsewhere, but for the majority of creative workloads the card is a pragmatic fit. Battery life is often the elephant in the room for mobile workstations, and the P16v is no exception. With a 90Wh battery, you can expect about 5 to 6 hours of mixed usage, some coding, a bit of video playback, and a short rendering session. That's respectable for a machine that houses a high-resolution display and a discrete GPU, but it's not the all-day battery you'd get from an Ultrabook. In a real-world test, I left the laptop on a client site for a half-day shoot, and it lasted just long enough to get through the edit before I needed to plug back in. If you're planning to be unplugged for a full day of heavy rendering, you'll want a spare power brick or a portable charger. One of the quieter strengths is the keyboard and security suite. The ThinkPad's classic 1.5mm travel keys are backlit and include a number pad, which is a blessing when you're entering long numeric datasets in Excel or programming scripts. The built-in privacy shutter for the 5MP RGB plus IR camera gives you peace of mind during video calls, and the dual microphones with AI noise suppression make your voice come through clear even in a bustling CAF. Those are small touches, but they add up in daily professional use. The trade-off is a slightly heavier chassis, around 6 pounds, so the laptop feels solid but less nimble for frequent travel between meetings. So who should actually buy this ThinkPad? If you're a freelance designer, engineer, or video editor who needs a reliable, color-accurate display and enough RAM to keep multiple heavy applications alive, this is a compelling option. It also fits small studios that want a single device capable of both workstation tasks and occasional gaming without needing two separate machines. On the flip side, if you're a pure gamer looking for the highest frame rates at 4K, or a student who only needs a lightweight notebook for note-taking, the P16v's price and weight will feel excessive. The hidden trade-off is that you're paying for the ThinkPad brand's durability and support ecosystem, things that cheap